Mechanical Drawing, Chapter 2, Design and Freehand Sketching. This one we're going to do an isometric again, MD2-1. We're going to do as an isometric. What's an isometric? Again, an isometric is a pictorial, one view, a single view showing all three dimensions, those dimensions relating to or corresponding with axes. An isometric, those axes are equally spaced at 120 degrees apart. Now, the way I grew up, or the way I learned, being 99% board drafting, we used triangles that had a 30-degree angle, and so we would draw a vertical line, and then from the horizontal we would come up 30 degrees and come up 30 degrees by flipping the triangle over. Exactly the same thing. So whether you want to think of it as this, for me, I think a front edge, vertical edge, 30-30. That's how I remember isometrics. Vertical edge, 30-30. Again, if it works better for you to remember they are equally spaced at 120 degrees, wonderful. What works for you is the right way, as long as it keeps it clear for you and doesn't lead you astray. So now, almost you can tell, and hopefully you can, if I were to look at just these three, this corner, these three axes, it sure does look like this. This really looks like that front top corner. Looks like that front top corner there, and there, and there. So if you hadn't already known or guessed or figured out, these are isometric drawings, every one of them. So that should help you, I hope, figure out or understand how to draw these. And again, we're going to do MD2-1 here. Jumping back and forth from the actual object. Again, these objects are all rectangular in nature for the most part. So if you think about edges on the object and then relate them to edges on your drawing, or how a drawing is to be drawn, let's talk. We can do it this way. A horizontal on this object. No, I apologize. Let's start with the verticals. Verticals, there's a vertical line, vertical line, vertical line. Every one of these is a vertical line, and on an isometric we either have a vertical or 30-30. These two symmetrically inclined lines at 30 degrees. So you see a horizontal line on the object. I apologize, I'm tripping over my own words here. The vertical lines on an object, vertical edges on an object, are all drawn vertically, perfectly vertically. That is a horizontal line on an object, as well as that, and that. They're all parallel horizontal lines drawn along the depth, in this case, which would be drawn at 30 degrees above the horizontal on the right side. The other horizontal lines on the object, this one, these two, and the two at top and bottom in the back, are all parallel to each other. Those are drawn along the width. Those are the width dimensions of each of the object, and they are drawn at 30 degrees above horizontal on the left side, okay, giving us these two axes. So on an isometric, vertical lines are vertical, horizontal lines are either this 30 or this 30. So let's get that knocked out. Again, just using the same one for ballpark, for estimating purposes. Now again, I've gone ahead and sketched this out just to give me a quick reference of where it's going to fit. Am I even going to have room? Now, unlike before, I've gone ahead and enlarged this. I thought, you know, maybe I'll have enough room in it. This one I probably can fit. I've gone 4 squares on my graph paper. I've gone 4 squares per cube, just to see if I can make it fit, just to where it's a little bit easier to see or understand, a little bit more detail, clarified, or for clarity's sake. And this one would fit. However, by the time I get to some of these other blocks, I have a feeling they're not going to fit, not fit near as well. So here is where I'm keeping in line with the 2 squares per cube. So I think if I do that, I've got plenty of room. Plus, I should be able to get a second problem done on this paper without cramming anything, because clarity is absolutely important. So somewhat centered, so about here I'll start that corner. To me, I almost always start at that front bottom corner, this corner right here. Not always, but in most cases that is where I begin. So here I am on the bottom right corner, and I'm going to go ahead and do that front L shape again, like I have most times. And again, I'm too wide, too tall, and then I have that knockout. So now, I don't have a protractor. I don't have something telling me exactly where 30 degrees is located. For the purpose of sketching, for the purpose of using graph paper or something similar, I'm going to fudge it. I'm going to call it good enough. And again, for the sake of sketching, that's okay. I'm not going to mind, or at least in my class, it's going to be okay. I know the diagonal of a square is 45 degrees, and I need to be less than that. So instead of trying to ballpark it just freehand wise, I'm still going to use the graph paper as a tool. Instead, I'm going to come over, now I don't know if you can see, but there's my dot where I'm starting. I'm going to come over 2 squares and up 1. And I'm going to call that my so-called 30. Now it is wrong, it's not correct. Off the top of my head, I don't know what it is, but I do know it's less than 45. I'm also going to keep it the same on the other side, so I'm going to keep that symmetricality going. So it's not going to be a perfect 30 degrees, it's not going to be a perfect isometric, but it is going to be close. And again, for the purposes of what I'm doing, sketching at this time, that is definitely well enough. So again, two cubes over, so there's 1, again keeping with the 2 squares per, and then here is 2. Now I'm at a vertical, I'm at this bottom left corner, and I have a vertical line to draw. So I said in an isometric, vertical lines are drawn vertical. So, excuse me, vertical lines on an object are drawn vertical in an isometric. So I'll go up 2 squares for 1 and 2 squares for 2. Now, in this case, again, I'm going to draw the L shape. I can either come back. Now, coming back would be down on this 30 degrees, because it's going to, this top edge here is parallel to this bottom edge. So this line I'm getting ready to draw up here must be parallel with this line. Now, if that confuses you, that's okay. Instead, tell you what, let's jump back to this bottom corner, and let's draw straight up. Again, on the object, that's a vertical line. In an isometric, that is drawn or represented with a vertical line. So that is that vertical edge here. In this case, I'm going to go from that point, the top point there, back to the left along the width, 1 cube, which is 2 squares. So again, I go over 2 and up 1. That is that edge there, and it is parallel to this bottom edge here. I'm here, I'm going to go vertical. And then here I am at the very end. Okay, so if I were up here, that's what I meant by coming back down at 30. Just connecting the dots, there is that L-shaped of the front view of that block. Okay, so now let's go ahead and draw this line, this bottom edge, starting at my starting point, bottom right corner, and I'm going to go, that is a horizontal line on the object, so therefore it's going to be 30 degrees above this horizontal, and I'm going along the depth, 4 cubes, so that'd be 8 squares. Over 2 up 1, over 2 up 1, over 2 up 1 third time, and over 2 up 1 the 4th time. So I've kind of just made some small, very light, faint marks to help me identify exactly what and where. Making these marks makes it easy because then you're done counting. All you are doing now is connecting the dots or filling in that line. So again, this point here is that bottom right far back point there. So again, I can come from this point, this point, this point. I'm going to go ahead and do this one. And I know I am vertical up 2 blocks. So 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay, and I'm here at this point. Instead, I'm going to go ahead and jump, and this is entirely up to you. You can go ahead and do this one. You can do this one here. As long as you are keeping track and you're keeping it clear where you are on this sheet, or on the actual block, and how it is drawn on this sheet. So you have to jump back and forth, visualize, and if you're able to do that 3 dimensions, keeping your widths, your heights, and your depths clear, that's a wonderful talent or a wonderful skill set to have, and that's what it is we're trying to acquire in this class. So I'm going to go ahead and jump up in the front, just so I don't get lost back here. I'm going to go ahead and jump in this top left front corner, that is right here, and I know I am going horizontally on the actual block, front to back, and that is drawn with, or identified with, these 30-degree lines parallel this way. So again, I'm going back 4 cubes, so 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, and then the fourth one, 1, 2. So this is about the same thing, since I'm using a pen for clarity's sake on these videos. Sometimes having a little bit of dots instead of multiple lines makes things a little cleaner and clearer. So, okay, definitely not the best line. Okay, so there is that top edge there. What do I know is true about that back edge? It goes from this point here to that point back there, and it should be at a line 30 degrees above the left horizontal, parallel to these 3 here. And so over 2 up 1, once, twice, and there it is, and it does appear to be in fact parallel with those. Now from here, if you want, I can come from this back corner up to this face, or I can start here and come from front to back to this front face. I think that's what I'm going to do. I've got 3 lines going 2 cubes each, and they are coming from corner, corner, and corner along the 30 above the right horizontal. So over 2 up 1, over 2 up 1. Do the same thing here, would be parallel to this one, over 2 up 1, over 2 up 1. I'll do this one here from this corner, over 2 up 1, over 2 up 1. Now, again, if I'm measuring and drawing correctly, they will appear to be relatively parallel, but also these 2 edges here, these 2 lines here, end with a vertical line, which is exactly what you should have here, connecting those dots, a vertical line. And then if you want, this bottom edge there, which would be along that 30, what we're considering to be a 30, over 2 and down 1. Well, let's go ahead and do that square. In this case, it is not a square, but a vertical is a vertical, and a horizontal is a 30. And I have that. And the only one I am missing is something here, which would be this top edge, parallel to these other depth lines. And if I did things correctly, over 2 up 1 and over 2 up 1, and there it is. And there is my isometric. And I still have plenty of room down here for a second, for MD2-2. Notice things are not all crammed. There's all kinds of room. It's quick and easy to see, to convey or to retrieve the information that it is you're trying to convey.